Welcome to Behind the Recipe. I'm your host, Christina Hitchcock. Join me every week as we deep dive into the joys of cooking, explore kitchen tips and tricks, and share delicious recipes that will inspire your next meal. So, whether you're a seasoned cook or just learning your way around the stove, there's something here for everyone. Today, we're talking with my friend Stacie from Simply Stacie and Busy Day Dinners, and we're going to be talking about how she has followed her dream and taken some culinary classes. So, welcome to the show, Stacie.
Thanks, Christine, for having me.
I'm so happy. Before we get started, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Okay, well, my name's Stacie Vaughn. I am a food blogger. I have two sites. My main site is Simply Stacie, and I've been blogging there since 2008. And then my new site, which I started with Randa Dirksen, I think it was in 2023. It's called Busy Day Dinners, and we just do like easy dinner recipes. And we just launched a cookbook back in December. I'm live in Ontario, Canada. I have two daughters. They're 20 and 26, and I'm a cat lover and I have two cats.
Well, I'm a cat lover too. And I love that sometimes we'll be talking and you see like the tail go by and
My cat's with me right now, Reggie.
that's
But
too
he may
cute.
pop up on the video.
That's all right. We're cat fans here. So I'm so excited to be talking with you today about your new adventure, taking some culinary classes. So let's start with like what prompted you to do this?
Well, I've always been interested in cooking. I mean, with my food blog and stuff, I'm just like a home cook, self-trained, just learning off my mom and my grandma. But I've always been interested in cooking, and I thought, it'd be fun to like take something just to learn like how professionals do it and pick up some new skills. So I searched online just for some local colleges to see what was offered, and I found one in Toronto, George Brown College,
Hmm.
and they're actually known for like their culinary program. And they have online courses, so I thought, well, I'll just sign up for one and see what it's like. And I'm on my third one now. I'm taking two right now. I just finished one at the end of December, the first one for the culinary arts certificate, and I've signed up for two more starting in the spring and the summer.
That's so exciting. I've often thought about doing the same thing, but it's kind of I'm intimidated by it to be honest, because I'm like you, I'm just a home cook that's, learned from my mom and my grandmas and, the internet and HGTV or Food Network, how to
Yeah.
cook. So I've always been intimidated by learning from a chef in a white coat.
Yeah, see, I was too. I mean, but they break it down so easy, like, and they have the videos that you learn from, and you have the weekly calls. You do assignments where you get to practice what you've learned, and they go through like all the recipes in the videos, so you can like rewind it and watch it over again, and just, I don't know, like, and I don't know, they're kind of the tips that I've learned, like I thought there's no way I'd ever be able to do some of this stuff, but it's really not that bad when they break it down for you.
Right.
And you don't really need to be intimidated because I mean, that's their job is to teach
Yeah,
beginners.
that's true. That's true. So you're doing this as an online course, right? Not an in-person?
No, because I live in it's like a rural area and we don't have that available. It's in
Okay.
Toronto, which is about 4-hour drive.
Oh, wow.
But they do have like the in-person courses. They actually have more selection if you can go in person. But like for people that don't live near the college or that work during the day, this is a great option for them.
Yeah.
And a lot of the other students I find are like people like me that just want to learn. Like we're not doing this to like go work in a restaurant. It's
Hmm.
more of like a hobby thing that they just want to learn new tips and recipes and how to do things properly. And
Right.
so I've
So with
been
this,
chopping all along. I've been chopping wrong all along. That's what I realized. Oh my God. I've been doing things like, oh, wrongs. I don't know. Anyway, it's just good to like pick up how to chop an onion, how to all the different types of like cuts for the vegetables. And I think
so
it's
do you
going to
feel
really
more
help.
confident now?
Yes. I do, and I think that's going to continue like as I take more courses.
Hmm.
Even just with the one course, I took Culinary Arts 1, which is like the prerequisite for every other course in the program.
Okay.
And it was like 12 lessons over 12 weeks. And so we had assignment every week. And we have like an online class that you can watch the recording. So say if you're busy and you miss it, you can still watch the recording. There's a discussion board, you can ask the teacher questions. Um, and you submit your assignment online. So basically the assignment, they give you one recipe, one or two recipes a week to do.
Hmm.
And you've watched the video on how to make it, how the chef made it, how to cut everything, how to cook it. Um, and then you take pictures while you're cooking it, and you just do a little write up about what your experience was, and just submit it that way. And another good thing about the course, um, it's not really you're graded on pass fail. So it's not like, oh, you could fail this course. If you try and you do everything, you'll pass,
Oh,
basically.
that's good.
Yeah, so it's not like a course you take if you were gonna work like be a chef, obviously. It's just more of
Right.
a general interest type thing.
Okay, so it's a little different than if you were to take it for like professional training to enter into the restaurant world.
Yeah, I think for that you'd probably have to go to the actual school
Hmm.
and do like a diploma. Um,
Okay, gotcha. But this
mhm,
is a great alternative, I think. Like you said, if you work or, if
mhm.
you're doing something else and you just want a hobby to develop your skills and, feel a little more confident in the kitchen, this is a great way to do that.
Yeah, and I mean like there's people like there's young people, like people my daughter's age, there's older people, like people older than my parents that are doing it.
Hmm.
There's men, there's women. Um, And yeah, just like it's just a general interest, like anyone that's interested in learning about cooking. And the courses there are really, really well done. Like they're very organized.
Hmm.
They're taught by professional chefs. Some of them have like worked in restaurants and they teach at the college as well. And the online courses, like the bonus about that is they're a little bit cheaper than the in-person courses.
Right.
Uh, because, well, the in-person courses, like the college would supply all the food and everything, right? And all the tools. And when you're at home, you have to buy all that yourself.
Okay. So did you have to buy any special equipment for this, or do you use kitchen equipment that you already have?
Most of it I had, there was a few things that I had to buy. Just, I mean, I didn't really have to buy them. They give you like, oh, this is good to have, but you could also use this. So I did buy a sauteur.
What is
Uh,
that?
it's like a frying pan with like the sides on it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I use that like all the time. I find like that is used in like every recipe in that
Hmm.
or those sauteurs. So they're really good to have. And they could also go in the oven too. Like with the lamb, I'm making lamb Morocco tonight for my course.
Ooh.
And it's cooked on the stove and then you move it into the oven.
Mm. Well, I'd love to come over for dinner if we lived closer. So.
Yeah, I mean, I always have so much food. Another thing I had to buy was a good knife.
Mm.
They recommend that you get like a really good chef's knife.
Hmm.
The other knives, you can buy them at like Walmart or wherever. You don't have to spend a lot on like paring knives or boning knives.
Hmm.
But you should get a good quality chef knife. And the one I got at a kitchen store in Ottawa, and it was a Wusthof.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah, and I love it. Like it makes cooking like the chopping so much better than the I had a block of knives before and oh those were terrible for me because
When
they weren't sharp or anything.
Yeah, and whenever people ask me like, what's the number one thing you would recommend in a kitchen, I always recommend first and foremost is a good chef's knife
Mhm.
and learn how to sharpen it and keep it sharp because there is nothing more dangerous, I think, than
Oh,
a
I know.
dull knife.
Yeah, and I'm taking knife skills right now. That's my course I just started last night. And I watched the lesson today and it said like, yeah, dull knives are the most dangerous thing because like they
Yeah.
can flip.
Mhm.
They taught you that I didn't even realize this, but there's a honing steel, so that like straightens the knife with one of those big long steel things. That doesn't sharpen it, just straightens it. And you have to buy like a knife sharpener, and you should do your knife sharpener like every like few months or so.
Mhm.
or you can use one of those whetstones.
Right.
There was a really good YouTube video that they had for the course. I could probably share it with you, and it was about like how to sharpen your knife.
That's a great thing to share. I often I have my husband do my knife sharpening for me, but
Yeah.
I can always tell like when they're freshly sharpened, it's so much easier to work with my knife. And you shouldn't have to saw when you're cutting, like the back and forth motion. You should be able to
No,
just go straight down.
straight down. Yeah,
Yep.
and it'd be quick. I mean, you're always, and there's a certain way to hold the knife too. Like
Hmm.
I was holding it wrong before I took any of these courses. Like you're supposed to hold it like a claw. So
Yeah.
the knife goes against your knuckles because you don't want to, it's like you can scrape your knuckle, but you don't want to chop your finger off. So that's what would you rather, you know?
Especially with those pretty fingernails. You don't want that in your chicken soup.
Yeah, no. And then and like take your time too. Like I'm those chefs that we see on like the Food Network, they've been doing that for
Yeah.
years. Take your time in the ki with especially when you're working with knives.
Yeah. I always have to tell my son that when he's helping me in the kitchen. I'm like, focus on accuracy, not speed.
Get it done. Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
they just practice too. Like I'm still learning with the knife skills. Like it's gonna probably take a while. But
Yeah.
even, like cutting an onion, the certain like dicing and mincing is a lot easier now. Like that I've taken the
Hmm.
course because like I watched the video and saw how the chef was doing it, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And I'm like, oh my God, it's just so much quicker the way
Yeah.
I was before. It
And
was,
I found that when you have the right tools and you
Mhm.
learn the right skills, that it actually speeds up the time in the kitchen. Like you're spending a lot less time. And when you learn like the strategies, like, I've worked with a couple of chefs before who, talk a lot about like their mise en place and getting everything together before you cook. And it sounds like an extra step, but I think doing those kinds of things really speeds up your hands-on time as you're cooking, and it makes your cooking experience more efficient and faster.
Exactly. And then also too, you're not going to burn things. Like what do they say? You want it to be golden brown, like not golden black, because then you burnt it, right? Um, so like getting all that stuff ahead of time will save you time and it'll be less stressful because you're not scrambling like, oh my God, I can't find this.
Yeah.
And like if your cupboards are a mess like mine,
Yeah.
you'll be looking for stuff and you're like, oh my God, I can't find this and then this is gonna burn. And so I get everything ready ahead. I chop everything ahead.
Hmm.
Get all my ingredients out. I measure everything I can. And sometimes like for the course, I take a picture of everything too, like after I've got it all chopped so that they can see for the
That's the
assignment.
food blogger in you coming out. You're
Oh
going to do
yeah.
a process shot and an ingredient shot.
Oh yeah, we have to do all that. So I'm used to doing that anyway, but it makes a big difference
Yeah.
too. Yeah, it's good to do. So
Yeah, I find that it definitely helps when I take the time to do that step. It really helps me move things along as I'm cooking, and I find myself I'm less stressed because I'm not running back and forth looking for things, and I can just go over, get the next item in the line, and in the pan it goes.
yeah, and yeah, like I totally do that too. Like I'm not like trying to peel a garlic and mince it
Mhm.
when stuff's gonna burn in my frying pan or something. So
Yeah. I always
Mm.
laugh like I'm going way back in the way back machine here. When the Food Network first started, remember Emeril Lagasse, and
Yeah,
he had like one of the first cooking shows that I remember watching.
I watched that in the 90s too.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
always said, he's like, your stove has, or the burner dials have numbers on it for a reason. You don't just turn it up to 9 and like let it go. Like
Oh,
you have to use like the dial and the different temperatures in between. And I'm like, uh-huh, because I would usually just turn it up as high as
and
it'll go and get it going.
yeah, and like in the course, they're like you have to really use all your senses when you're cooking,
Yeah.
and your ears are really important. Like listen when you're cooking, say for example, like onions, and you heat your oil up first,
Hmm.
and then they always say to add it to a hot pan, right? So you test it, make it when it starts sizzling, that's when you add your onions. Then don't touch it because like a lot of us want to just keep stirring and stirring and stirring, and I'm always bad for that. But they said just leave it. Then when you hear it pick up, then give it another stir so it doesn't burn.
Hmm.
But you're listening, like, okay, no, and then you're in control of your stove too, so you can turn down the heat, adjust it if
Yeah.
you like it's making too, if you think it's gonna burn, like turn it down. You-
Yeah.
You're in control. Like
And we've all seen those memes online where it's like everybody has their favorite burner on the stove, like you know where your favorite burner is.
I
But
do.
I know on my cooktop, different burners run at different temperatures. Like
Yeah.
my lower right one is so much hotter than my other one. So I know that I have to keep that one turned way down if I need to cook something slowly or at like a really low simmer.
Yeah.
I can't even have it halfway. I've got to turn it down to like one.
Do you have like a gas stove, electric, or
Yeah, I have gas.
okay, see, I have electric, which is like in the course they use gas, which
Yeah.
seems to be like the better option, because it heats up faster, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, like electric, you're like waiting forever, like, oh my God, is this butter ever gonna freaking melt? I don't know. I'm like, I wish I had like a gas stove, but we do.
Yeah. Well, in time.
It works, yeah.
Yeah, gets the job done. That's
Hmm.
I love this. And I really think I would love to take a course like this. So what are some of the we talked a bit about like knife skills and stuff, but what are some other things you've learned along the way?
Well, like I mentioned, like the chopping the vegetables.
Hmm.
I mentioned like, for example, we did a week on Chinese cooking with the
Ooh.
wok, and they say one of the tips was hot wok, cold oil. So whatever
Okay.
you heat the wok up by itself, and then you add cold oil to it.
Huh.
So little tips with the seasoning. You're always tasting. You should be using 2 spoons to taste. So that you're not like sticking your spoon and then into it and then, tasting and then everyone's got to eat your germs. You always have 2 spoons. So you use 1 spoon to take the recipe out of the pot. Then you put it on your other spoon and then you taste it.
Oh, that makes sense.
I mean,
Never
I guess
thought about that.
if you're just cooking for yourself, it doesn't matter. But if you're
Yeah.
cooking, like say a dinner party or something, like I don't know, you don't want your germs in there. I never thought about that before, but we learned about like the types of cuts of meat, different types of meat. We got to try new ingredients. For example, like lamb. I really not a big lamb
You could tell
person.
by the face you just made.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never really cooked with lamb. My mom never made it, so
Yeah.
I've been forced to try new things and realizing that, hey, this is pretty good. Uh,
Yeah.
I learned like pie crust. Like I used to just like, cool, my blog was all about like really shortcuts and stuff, so I was using like frozen pie
Hmm.
crust, which is, but I learned how to make my own pie crust, and oh my God, it's not that hard to do, and it's so much better. It's really, really good. Yeah, so just like learning how to do that, learning about different cuisines from around the world, because the culinary arts course I'm doing now, culinary arts 2, is all every week is a different country.
Oh, that's exciting.
Mhm. So we've done Germany, we did like Canada, we've done, and tonight's like Morocco. I think
Mhm.
next week we're doing Norway.
Oh, I've been in Norway. I have family over there.
Oh, do you? I
I'm
think
interested to see what you cook.
it's like a fish cake, I think. So,
Uh-huh.
so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, tonight I'm doing lamb Maroc with the saffron couscous.
That sounds delicious.
So we'll see. Wish me luck. It's with like it's so I have like a lamb leg. I was supposed to find lamb shoulder, but I couldn't find it, so I bought a lamb leg, and I've been thawing that for 3 days.
Hmm.
And taking a while. It has apricots in it, although they say you can also use raisins and these blanched almonds and onion and what else is in it? I have the recipe right here. Oh, I had to buy a spice off of Amazon because I don't have like an Arab market here, but it's the Ras El Hanout.
Okay.
I
Ras
don't,
Al
I've,
Hanout. Yeah, I've heard
yeah,
of that.
I've never heard of that, so that's something like new I'm trying tonight.
Well, that's exciting. And I think that
Yeah.
that's another great benefit of doing something like this is it gets you out of your comfort zone,
Hmm.
and really forces you to try new things, whether it's a technique or a recipe or even like a protein you're not familiar with.
Yeah, and a lot of them too, like a lot of the spices and things, and the dried stuff you can order on Amazon.
Hmm.
If you don't live near like an Arab supermarket or Chinese.
Hmm.
I bought a lot of the stuff off Amazon, because I live in a rural area and we don't have a lot of selection here.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
that's exciting.
I've learned a lot though so far, and I have like I think the program is like three required courses, which is the culinary arts one, culinary arts two, and the knife skills.
Hmm.
And then you have to pick I believe it's 4 to 6 electives.
Okay.
So I'm doing pizza and canning and fermenting next in the
Oh,
in
that's
summer. Yeah.
that's fun. Now, when you're all done, when you finish the courses, like your required courses and your electives, what will you end up with?
The culinary arts certificate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to go work in a restaurant with that, would you be able to?
Um, no, I mean maybe like a local
Right.
restaurant,
Like you're
you
not
know.
going Michelin star.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm not doing it to like get a job or anything, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm maybe you could.
Yeah,
I
maybe
don't
it'll ignite a passion that you didn't know was like lying
maybe
in there just waiting to be awoken.
yeah, I mean maybe if someone wanted to start their own restaurant, they could if they wanted to with it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's
Yeah.
that's fun. So have you run into any challenges along the way?
Um, yeah, some. The one challenge is like finding ingredients.
Yeah,
Just I don't like the college is in Toronto, which is like the biggest, I think it's the biggest city in Canada. And they have a lot of like diverse stores there,
right.
like the Chinese grocery store and the Arab grocery store and the Italian grocery store. So it's easier for them to find stuff like and they have a butcher shop. Like our butcher shop is really, really small.
Okay.
And then I live about, I don't know, an hour and a half to 2 hours from Ottawa, which is the next biggest city. And I mean, I could drive there if I really needed something. Like I had to go to Ottawa for something and I needed an ingredient and I picked up chicken bones for chicken stock.
Hmm.
But I couldn't find chicken bones around here. So yeah, finding ingredients is hard. But luckily, like they do offer substitutions because they realize that some people don't live
Right.
in the city and it's harder for them. So they do offer that.
And plus, I'm thinking that's teaching you a skill right there, like knowing what you can easily substitute in a recipe versus
Mhm.
what's like a non-negotiable. Like if you're making, a chicken soup, yeah, you can substitute chicken for turkey for chicken, but you
Yeah.
can't throw in beef cubes. Like
No,
knowing what you can substitute, what you can't substitute, like how far you can push it. I think that's a good skill to learn too.
yeah, because we had like veal schnitzel for the German class,
Mhm.
and there was no veal anywhere that I needed a certain kind of veal, and I just used pork,
Okay.
and it worked out. And like they even the instructor was like, "Yeah, that's fine to use pork schnitzels. I guess
Hmm.
I'll eat that too." So, yeah, so you have to do that. I mean, I'm used to like not being able to find ingredients with my
Yeah.
website anyway, just because it's a smaller area. And yeah, like sometimes I'll have to go to a few different stores to find it. We do have a bulk barn here. I don't think you guys have that down there.
No, I don't know what that is.
It's like bulk food. Like so it's like
Okay.
spices. You can
Hmm.
buy them in bulk bins, like the pasta, the spices, the rice. They had like apricots, raisins, pie fillings, like everything is in all.
Wow. That
And
would
you
be
just
amazing.
you scoop it out yourself and put it in a little bag and you bring it up to the cash. Yeah. So we have those here. So I find like that's really good for finding like the more obscure type spice
Yeah. And then you could
sometimes.
just buy what you need. You don't need to buy like an
Right.
entire container of something.
Like the apricots. I only needed 100 grams of apricots. So I just got it out and measured it or weighed it or whatever. And it was that just buy what you need basically. So you don't have all these like things you're not going to eat ever.
Yeah. I'm that person that goes to the deli counter and I'll be like, can I have 4 slices of whatever meat or cheese and
Mhm.
buy if that's what I need for a recipe? I'm like, I'll take 4 slices, not a quarter pound, not a half pound, just 4 slices, please.
Yeah, I've done that too. Because I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how. I mean, everyone's like, I don't know how much to order here. Like, it's hard
Yeah.
to judge how much things weigh. So,
Yeah.
and that
I'm
was
not a
the other
good judge
thing.
of that either.
No, I know, and also too with the course, I had to buy one of those kitchen scales,
Mm-hmm.
but they do a lot by weights in the course.
Right. Yeah, we had a podcast episode prior with Dave and Deanna from DK's Corner and they were talking about making homemade gnocchi and he says like he does his flour by weights or
Mhm.
ounces versus cups.
Yeah, so they weigh everything. And I guess it's more of an accurate
Yeah, more
way
accurate.
for cooking. I know for baking it's important to weigh.
Yeah,
I haven't like I'm not taking
I'm
it
not
if
that
I'm
precise.
no, I'm not usually either. I'm usually like cups and stuff, but so like they give me like the ingredients in like 100 grams, I'll say for example, 100 grams of whole almonds. And I'm like, what is that in like cups? I'm like Googling it so I know, and then I'll have to use the like the weight thing. And I mean, it's not hard to do. You just
Yeah.
tear, you press tear when you put your little cup on, then you just add
Hmm.
the, I guess it's more precise, but yeah.
Yeah. I know a couple of times I've tried to recreate my aunt that lives in Norway. I've tried to recreate her Norwegian recipes,
Yeah.
and I was in her kitchen in Norway, and I'm literally following her around as she's weighing out the ingredients, and I'm following her around with American measuring equipment that I brought with me, and just
Yeah.
trying to get like the equivalents and writing that down, and it doesn't quite work the same when I've
No,
tried to make it at home.
yeah, I think like in Europe they cook with like weights, right?
Yeah,
And then like I know like us in Canada, I think US and Canada we do like cups and
yeah.
but I'm starting to use my scale more, so we'll see.
Oh, that's good. So it taught you
Uh,
that skill as
Yeah,
well.
I didn't even have a scale before, so
Yeah.
um
So what are some of your favorite recipes that you've made so far?
I think my favorite was when we did the Canada chapter or Canada lesson was the tourtière. I
Oh,
don't know,
tell me about that because I'm not sure what that is.
tourtière, it's a Quebec recipe, Quebecois. It's a meat pie and they usually have it like around Christmas time. So
Okay.
it's they like we had to make the pie crust and it was filled with like ground pork
Mm.
and seasoned with cinnamon, cloves, and allspice.
Ooh, so it's more like with that
Yeah,
spicy, not
it's
spicy, but
yeah,
like
it's got a little bit of like not hot, but like a spice,
yeah, like warm spices.
a warm spice. And oh my God, it was like it was so good. I'm
Huh.
like, and then you're supposed to eat it with ketchup, but I'm not a big ketchup person, so I just ate it myself. But I was like, oh, this crust is so good, the filling's so good. I think I ate most of that myself
Oh,
almost.
wow.
It was really good. Like I had it left over and stuff. But yeah, I love that.
Now, had you
Um,
made that prior to making it for the class?
no, I've had it before,
Okay.
but I've never made it myself.
That's
But
exciting.
it was really, really good. I can see why they like it there in Quebec. So good. Yeah. I made lasagna, like a homemade lasagna from scratch.
Oh, yum yum. It's one of my
Yeah,
favorites.
and way better than the frozen lasagnas. Like, it was so good. I've made my own chicken stock, which I've never done before either. And that was when I went to Ottawa to buy the chicken bones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was, and I remember like learning how to skim, you have to skim it too, like skim the
Yeah, all
impurities.
the fat.
Yeah, the impurities will rise to the top and you have to keep skimming it. So I learned how to do that. I've made stuffed pork steaks with apple compote,
Yum.
beef stroganoff with buttered noodles. We did a black pepper beef for the China
That
chapter.
sounds good.
hmm
I can't
And
be doing this podcast when I'm hungry because like I'm like, "Ooh, that sounds good. Ooh,
I
that's
know it's really good. I mean, I'll try. I'm not that picky with food. I used to be when I was a kid, but I'm not now. So I'll taste everything and see if I like it. I mean, some things I like better than others.
right."
My partner, he's more on the picky side. So there's some stuff he won't even try. So he doesn't eat any fish or seafood. Like he won't even try if it's got fish or seafood. He's not a big pork person. So, or lamb, like we're having lamb tonight. I don't know if he's going to try it. I hope so, but
Well, that's what we're having, so it'll be up to him then, right? To make his own.
yeah. And anything like if I will I'll call his sister up and she'll come and get some if like I don't want to throw it out. So
Right.
I'll get her to, and she's got like her daughter and her husband will eat it. So.
Oh, that's good.
Hmm.
So, what do you feel are some of the main takeaways you've gotten from your journey in this cooking school so far?
Um, Mainly like it's like I mentioned, like the actual knife skills was the big one.
Hmm.
Like the safety. I was not doing stuff safe before. Also like the importance of seasoning with
Yeah.
salt.
I find
Keep
that a lot of people don't realize that they should be seasoning food as they go. Like the importance of salt when you're cooking. And I'm not talking
Mhm.
about making it salty or,
No,
jacking up your sodium levels in your body, but just seasoning
yeah.
your food to bring it and enhance and bring out flavors.
Yeah, and that's why they often say they don't often put in the course anyway, they don't put like a amount for salt.
Hmm.
It's going to depend on the type of salt you use because certain salts are saltier than others.
Yeah.
Your personal taste. So you have to really like taste it and see like is it missing something? And if it's missing something, usually you need to add some more salt.
Yeah. Well, even if you take a teaspoon of table salt versus a
Mhm.
teaspoon of kosher salt, I can't talk. That's different measurements because kosher salt has the larger granules than table salt. So you have to like you can't use them interchangeably in
Oh,
recipes.
no, and I find like in the course they're using like kosher salt and sea salt
Hmm.
mostly.
Hmm.
They don't use table salt. I don't know
Interesting.
why. I guess maybe the iodine or I don't know
Maybe.
why they don't use it. I mean, I use table salts at
Yeah.
home. But I do have all the other types of salts that I'll use too.
The four salt containers lined up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have this like electric salt and pepper
Hmm.
grinders and I love them and I think it has kosher salt in it. I can't
Yeah.
remember granules and it grinds it up and oh, it's so good.
Yeah, that's what I use kosher salt for most everything. I keep
Hmm.
a big container next to my cooktop and then I have a salt grinder and I keep the kosher salt in there and that's what I grind. But yeah. But it's interesting that so many people don't realize the importance of that. And I think that is one of the most important things to know.
Yeah, yeah, it is for sure. And I mean, it's opened my eyes to new techniques.
Yeah.
For example, with the in the China class, we learned about velveting, which is, did you ever hear of velveting? I never heard of
I've
velveting.
heard of it, but I'm not sure what it is. So refresh my memory.
It's a way of tenderizing meat.
Oh,
And the how we velveted the beef or the pepper beef in baking soda. We added baking soda to the marinade. Um,
okay.
you're only supposed to leave it sit like 10 to 30 minutes because if you leave it sit longer, well, at least the type of the cut of beef that we used, it will go into like mush, apparently. It'll just disintegrate the whole thing.
Okay, so I have seen that. There's a program over here called America's Test Kitchen on PBS, and they explain like the science behind cooking, and I love it. Like that's like my chemistry nerd. It pulls that out. But
Oh,
yeah, they had said that like if you put baking soda in with your beef marinade, that it will help tenderize it, but you can't let it go too long.
I know, and I was like, I have never heard this before.
Yeah.
Baking soda with beef? But yeah, like oh my God, it was so good. It was so tender. Like it's more for like the tougher, so you
Yeah.
get tougher cuts of beef that are not that they're chewy and if you don't. And then this made it so tender and also slicing it really thin made a big difference too, but it was really, really tasty.
Mm. So have
Hmm.
you ever like I've made this mistake a number of times. Marinating, like if you go to marinate, like let's say chicken breast, for example, which doesn't require a lot of marinating because it's already pretty tender. But if you put it in with like lime juice or like some kind of harsh acid and you let it sit like overnight, you turn out like it's a bag of mush.
Oh yeah, and I think for marinating, they I forget what they said. You're not supposed to let it sit too long, apparently,
Right.
because that can
Yeah.
happen. I guess the acid will like disintegrate it.
Yeah, it breaks it down like too much. You just need it
Yeah,
just a little bit to get in there and like get the flavor in, but not let it sit too much. You have a big pile of mush when you're left over. Nobody
yeah,
wants that.
no, and I know, and you would like this course, I think, because the teacher I have right, or the chef that's teaching it right now, she's like breaking down like all the science behind like the different muscle fibers, like the elastin,
Mm,
collagen, like how why you should cut against the grain when you're cutting like meat, like beef, for example.
yeah.
You want
One
to,
of the best classes I've ever taken, I was on a tour of beef farms and we got to do a butchering class. And it sounds scary, right? When there's this big hunk of meat
Yeah,
put in front of you and you've got to break it down into steaks and ribs and like all the different components. But I found it to be so relaxing.
really. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fascinating and just relaxing to just like have the knife like glide through the meat and you're like when you're left you're like, "Oh, I have a beautiful steak right here." Like I made that. Well, I didn't make it, but like I cut that. Look at how perfect that is.
Yeah, we had to do that in the culinary arts one with the chicken and use a boning knife. And I
Mm,
I was nervous at first. 'Cause I'm like, oh my God, like how do you cut through bone with the boning knife makes it a lot easier. And there's a certain way you're supposed to do it. And
yeah.
I don't know, it wasn't that bad. I'm like, this is not too bad. I think I could do this.
And now you can do a turkey. If you could do a chicken, you could do a turkey.
Yes,
It's just a
exactly.
bigger version.
Yeah, exactly. So you do like pick up a lot of different things. I mean, there's so much to learn, and I'm sure I'm not going to remember everything, but
Right.
there's takeaways that are going to stick with me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's great though. Like you went into it with some experience, but you're
Yeah.
coming out with so much more. So, I mean, I
Mhm.
think this is a great thing for anybody who's looking to get more experience. I really want to do this.
You
Maybe I need to
should.
follow your lead.
You should look into like George Brown. I'm not sure. Like, if I'm sure you could take it as in the from the US because it's online. But yeah, you
Yeah.
should and
I
see.
I think one of the local colleges by me offers a culinary arts degree. I'll have to look into that and just to check it out just for fun because I love to go like if restaurants or sometimes there's like smaller cooking schools like they'll offer classes and I love to take them. I always love to learn, so
Ew.
it's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Like I would love to take like local cooking classes if they had them, but
Yeah,
the next best thing. So, I mean, and I like being able to
yeah.
do it on my own time too.
Yeah, I used to go with my friend, my girlfriend and I used to go, and we had the best time. Like we did a ramen noodle one and all kinds of things, pasta making and just lots of fun stuff. But I would love to get like to actually be trained in the right way to do everything, not just what I've taught myself from TV.
I know I used to watch those Food Network shows in high school.
Hmm.
I don't know, they relax me for some reason. Just
Me too.
watching stuff just relaxes me. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
I'm the
And I
same way.
maybe that's why like I went into like food blogging because I love watching that stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I still watch like the food shows too, so
Yeah.
like reality, like the cooking competition shows.
Yeah, I do too. It's entertaining, but for me, like you said, it is very relaxing to watch other people cook, and I really like to watch other people bake because that's not my forte. I can hold my
Me.
own, but I don't enjoy it, and I'm not precise enough for it.
Mhm.
But I do like to watch other people do it. I find it to be very relaxing.
Yeah, they actually have a baking arts class course too that I'm after I'm done the culinary one, I
Hmm.
might actually do that one, the baking course,
Oh,
the
and then you can
baking
be a pastry
program.
chef.
Because yeah, that intimidates me. So like
Yeah,
baking is really like you can mess it up. Like you can fix cooking mistakes, but
yeah.
baking, yeah, it's another ball game. So
That would be an interesting class too, is like how to fix mistakes when you're cooking. Like, oh, I oversalted the sauce. How do I fix that?
Mhm.
Or I took this too far. How do
How
I,
do you solve it so that you don't have to throw it out and stuff. Yeah.
right, right.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, so maybe I'll do that like down the road. I probably will be doing this course or the program for at least another year.
Hmm.
So I'm doing like one course a term right now. So
Okay.
hmm.
So, I mean, this is just a great lesson, I think, for anybody listening. Like, if this is something you've ever thought of doing, just go out
Hmm.
and do it. I mean, especially now with all the online options,
Yeah. And
there's
it's usually not
really,
that expensive either for like online.
yeah.
I think this course cost me in Canadian dollars, it was 350 Canadian dollars.
Oh, that's not bad.
And then I don't know, we get a tax receipt too for that so we can claim part of the tuition on our
Mm.
tax stuff. So, I mean, and yeah, it's interesting too. So, why not, right?
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
like you've inspired me. I'm going to start looking into this. I think it's something I would enjoy doing. And anybody listening, I mean, if this is something you've ever thought about, now's the time. I mean, like you deserve
Mhm.
it to like invest in yourself and it's just going to make you, a better cook. It'll make meal times more enjoyable when you know the right skills and the right tools and can do it more confidently. It just makes it better, I think.
Yeah, and you're never too old to like to learn because I'll be 47 this month and look at me, I'm going back to college.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
You're never too old to learn.
You're never too old, so just do it if
Oh,
it's what you want to do. So,
yeah, I love that. Well, thank
mhm.
you so much for joining me today, Stacie. This is great. If our listeners wanted to check out your sites, where can they find you online?
So I'm at simplystacie.net. So Stacie is spelled with an IE, Stacie.
Okay.
And and then busydaydinners.com. I also have my cookbook. I'll show did
Oh, yeah,
you
we did talk about that. Yeah. Busy Day Dinner. This cookbook is fabulous. I was
yeah.
kind of along for the ride as you were developing it, and I loved it.
Yeah, so Randa Dirksen, we have busy day dinners together. So we did this cookbook together and it took us like, I don't know, 2 years to do. So there's all dinner recipes, all easy dinner recipes for home cooks, nothing fancy. And you can find that on Amazon worldwide and Barnes and Noble.
So it's an actual book. It's not an ebook. It's a
No.
physical cookbook that you can flip through the pages. There's the photos for everything are beautiful.
Yeah, we did photos for every recipe, just because I like to see
Me
what's,
too.
I'm more of a visual person and we both like food photography, so
Yeah,
to do
that's
pictures
great.
and everything. Yeah.
So we'll put links to both of Stacie's websites as well as a link to her cookbook so you can check that out in the show notes. So make sure you hop over there. And well, I want to thank you so much for hopping on the podcast with me today, Stacie. This was great.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. And thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of Behind the Recipe. I hope you enjoyed our conversation, picked up a few tips or recipes to try in your kitchen, or that Stacie has motivated you to get out of your comfort zone and take that class. But if you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And most importantly, share it with your friends. And I'd love, love, love to hear from you. So send me your questions, your feedback, your recipe ideas. Just head over to itisakeeper.com/BTR for Behind the Recipe. And until next time, happy cooking. And remember, everything's better when shared in the kitchen.